What's up, everybody? We're back again with Indian Time YouTube channel. I'm your host tonight, or one of your hosts. I'm Courtney Parchcorn, and our other host.
What's up, guys? It's been a long time. It's Adrian John here. We got a great show for you. I know it's been a minute before we did anything, but it's time for some more ghost stories. Isn't that right, Courtney?
Yes.
Alright, so we have a special guest with us tonight that's going to tell us some of the stories that she has, some paranormal experiences. So go ahead and let Courtney take over right now.
Okay. Our special guest has required an alias, so we have Dogwoman with us tonight. We're actually pretty excited, especially since this is our second episode and we are starting to interview other people and their paranormal activities that they have experienced.
All right, Dogwoman. So I know you've told us some stories before about, the house that you used to live in, your grandmother's house. And I know that your relatives have also said stuff about this as well. But could you tell us some of the stories that happened in your grandmother's house?
Well, let me see. I know there was one time when we were asleep. It was probably around 1 o'clock in the morning. The phone rang. And this is when the phones were on the wall. So we got up, answered the phone, and we just happened to look out the window. We saw something sitting on our back porch. We stood there and looked at it through the curtains, and we noticed a man was sitting on the back porch. So the person we were talking to on the phone, we just hung up with them and called the sheriff. And when the sheriff finally got there, this man took off running towards the woods. And when the sheriff got there, he had brought the man back up to the house and told that he was here to visit with us. But we didn't even know who the man was. So they took him to jail, and then next day, we saw the same man walking down the highway. So we don't know if this was the same man that whenever we were walking down walking down our driveway to check our mail late at night, and we were walking down this slope and we saw a man standing across the highway, and I took off running, and I had a little kitten. That little kitten was just hanging on me. Running as I was running, that little kitten was just swinging back and forth. And it was so scary, and for us, because we didn't know if this person was still chasing us or what. But when we got back to the house, we got in a car and drove down the road, and there was nothing in sight. There was nobody standing around down there, nobody walking down the road, or nothing.
All right, we are going to. That's pretty scary because you never know if it's it's a real thing or not. Nowadays you can't be too cautious about things because You know, there's just all kinds of creeps out there today who just, you know, don't know what their motives are. So it's kind of scary to think about because it could have been something. It could have been a normal person, but there's just no telling what it was. We're gonna take a quick break, real quick, and we're gonna see if we can get some more out of Dogwoman. All right, and we are back. Once again, this is the Indian Time YouTube channel. Your hosts Courtney Parchcorn and Adrian John, and we have Dogwoman. Dogwoman from the Yard, Oklahoma. But she's telling us some of her paranormal stories, her ghost stories, and Courtney, you know, she talked about that incident with this man. You know, what do you think about all that?
It's really creepy. Like you said, times have changed. You know, even as a kid, I was still able to at least walk around a little bit. But back then too, I'm sure I've heard other people, even elders, say, you know, people you know, they'd have to walk to get where they need to be. And something like that is scary. I kind of had something like that too, growing up at my grandma's house. And she lived, you know, kind of off the highway a little bit. And people would walk in her yard. And we actually had a man walk in the backyard, but looked into my cousin's bedroom, and we all started screaming. So, you know, it's just kind of scary having a random stranger, you know, watching you, especially if they're going to chase you.
Oh yeah. So did you actually think they were chasing you, or did you just not give it enough time to even think of it?
Or didn't have time to think about it. We just ran back to the house as fast as we could, and
maybe
we never really thought about it until we got the keys and drove down the road.
Maybe you should have threw the cat at it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, especially like me having kids, you know, I'm always in dad mode. Don't know, you know, who's looking at the kids, because there's just so much bad going on in the world right now that you can't be too cautious. But anyway, we're gonna go into another story. Dogwoman has a story about a house that she used to live in. Pretty much this one's gonna be entitled The White House. Is that right? Okay, so we'll go ahead and let you get into this story if you'd like to.
Well, it happened one night whenever everybody was asleep, and I got up to go to the restroom and ran into something in the hallway, and didn't think nothing of it. Just said, "Oh, sorry." Didn't realize till I got in the restroom and thought, what was that? So after I got out of the restroom, I looked in all the bedrooms. Everybody was asleep, still in bed. And so after that, I got up and went and laid on the couch. And our door had like a little window that it had a reflection from the street light. And I was laying on the couch, and all of a sudden it was like something was walking in, and it was from the reflection from the window. It was like the devil. and it was like walking on its hind legs. And when I saw the reflection of it, I kind of just closed my eyes and barely had my eyes open, and seen it come over and look at me. Then it walked on in the kitchen. And then after a little bit, you could hear something in the kitchen. And from then on, I didn't know what it was, or because it never came back through, like it just came in and went through. And I was kind of worried because the bedrooms were off on the side and the kitchen was on the other side. And I didn't know whether to get up. I was just like I was just, how would you say that? You know, when you can't move.
Like paralyzed with
yeah,
fear?
You're just kind of like paralyzed, because I
Mm.
wanted to get up and check on everybody in the other rooms, but I just couldn't move. And that was one of the scariest places we lived in.
Now, okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll have a couple of questions for you. Okay, so we are back, and Dogwoman was just telling us that this was actually the second time she lived in this house. So this house, obviously she lived in twice. Could you tell us the difference between the house the first time you lived in it and then the second time? Like, was there any differences, or?
Yeah, the house was like fairly new, and it was more comfortable to live in. But the second time we moved into it, it just felt cold and dreary, and it was like something was there, but it never really happened until after we lived in it for about a month or so. And then after that, other things started happening, and so we just moved out.
Feels like, there's just no telling what happens in houses, how long were you, in between the houses? Like, you moved in it the first time and then you moved out. How long was it you were until you moved back in?
A year.
A year? Obviously stuff can happen within a year, so you never know what, never know what the people did who moved in there,
Well, that, and there's no telling what they attracted, brought into that house too.
Negativity and stuff. Yeah. Is there anything, any other stories that you have that you could think of?
Well, there was one time when we had family that lived way down in the woods, and the children that were playing around, the grandmother always said, "Don't play around outside after dark." And the kids, they were just too busy playing and running around, and they were out in the back of the house. They was going round and round, and all of a sudden, one of the little girls stopped, and the other kids kept saying, "Come on, come on." And when they got to her, she was just standing there paralyzed, and when they finally pulled her to, she started screaming and crying, and she said there was something standing there in front of her.
Mm.
And they don't know what it was, but it was just something that just probably would have grabbed her if other kids weren't running around, and may have taken her into the woods or whatever. But that was one things that happened at this house. And then another thing is that we were sitting on the porch, and we were just happened to be talking and laughing, and there was a yard light, and you know how yard lights just go so far, and then after that it's blackness. So we were sitting there, and we seen something come to the edge of that light, and this lady said, "Oh, it was probably just the cow face." And I think she was just trying to tell us, she knew what it was, but don't be scared of it. But there was no cows in that land. But we all seen it, and we just all kind of turned around and looked at each other. And she probably knew what it was, but we didn't. And that was pretty scary, because we had to go through them woods and drive through the woods and get out and undo a fence to go through, and had to lock the fence back up.
I bet y'all had fun trying to figure out who was going to do that too.
I know.
That does. I don't know. I got chills right now. You know me. I make myself scared, and yeah. But I don't know what I would do if I actually had seen something like that.
We watch all these paranormal shows, and we want, me being a former paranormal investigator, and sometimes you just can't crack the barrier of what's real, what's reality and what's not. So it like we said earlier with this other story about this man, you just don't know if it was real or if it wasn't, with these experiences, there's just so much to take in. Like, houses deep in the woods, I feel like those are, they're isolated. So they, would probably give off a better energy. I don't know if these people lived, like, who all lived in this house? Was it just like one person, or?
No, it was like a couple.
Okay. Well, so just a couple people then?
A man and woman.
A man and woman. So if they're living in the wooded area, by themselves, obviously it's going to attract, something.
Yeah.
And then with the house that Dogwoman lived in twice, you just don't know what the people who lived in there before were doing. There could have been like negativity, within them, or they could have conjured up something. It's hard to say. But hearing some of these stories, it does scare you, because when you get ready to move into a new house or so, or been in a negative situation, you're bound to have some sort of incident happen. Most of the time negative.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but sometimes.
Well, that, even if it could be anything, like if your emotions are still out of whack, you can be anywhere else. I mean, you can be on a trip, traveling, but, something's bothering you. You could be depressed or all these negative feelings that you're feeling when you're not at home. Something can easily just latch onto you and you bring it home. So it's just kind of, every situation is kind of scary and different. And so you just never know what they could have brought in there.
Yeah, and it could have been an object.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard stories about people who would like just take an object from somewhere, whether it's like, let's just say they're going to, what's that fort down in Lawton? I can't remember.
Is it Fort Smith? No.
Fort Sill.
I can't remember. But either way, they have these. It could be anything. You could go down there and just take a rock or something, and keep it with you, and you might bring something back. You just,
Yeah.
it's something that simple.
But I think that's just us too as natives. That's what I was taught too. Don't be picking up any animals. Don't be taking a rock, no matter how pretty it is. Don't be bringing random stuff home from other places.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
well, obviously I was told that too growing up. Don't be playing outside at night.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets dark, come in.
Oh, I'm telling you, the house I used to live in, we were lucky enough if both street light things worked. It's either that or one didn't work and the other one did, and so you didn't want to go to that side of the house.
Yeah. I see, like, even a couple of times me and my cousins would be out, we played tag at night.
Mm-hmm.
But once I started hearing stuff, because the way the house was, it was kind of at a dead end, but then there's like this big old hedges, and then there's a field over there. So I'm like, once I heard something, I'm like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just go ahead and head out, and
Yeah.
That's funny. It's even with the house that I'm in right now, I've had experiences, and this stuff I can't explain, but it's, I kind of brush it off because, I got some crazy eyes anyway. I need to be wearing my glasses, but I don't sometimes. But there are times where I feel like I could see something out of the corner of my eye, just like go from one wall to the other, and I kind of like have to look over, and I'm like, who was that? and then, any house, you think you might have mice or something like that, and you see something scurry across the floor, but the thing that would get you sometimes, especially me, is whatever this thing I would see, it would be like a straight, streak. It wouldn't be like, because when a mouse runs by, you can see it, you can see it, but this thing was just like a black streak that just, went. I was like, I don't think that was I don't think that was any type of animal. But I've heard stuff too in the house that I'm in right now. I actually thought I heard my sons crying one night, and I rushed in there to see if they were okay, and they were both just snoring, sleep. Yeah. So, and that's recent stuff. That hasn't been like years. But you got anything?
Well, actually, like I said last night, I was trying not to let it bother me, but on occasion I feel like there's something in the closet. Just because there's a small light, like from our chargers, and it lights up the room pretty good. But not too bright where it could wake us up, but I can usually see in the closet. But I try to ignore it when I know the closet's like pitch dark.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I heard a bell in my ear, so it was like faint.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept getting closer. So I kept hearing like ding, ding, And then when it stopped, I could have sworn I felt something like moving in front of me. But I had my eyes closed, so I wasn't going to open them. And like I said, I tried to ignore it, acted like I was asleep. But other than that, you know, I didn't feel nothing. You know, on occasion, I feel like I get stared at while we're here.
It's probably because you're snoring.
Even, you know, in the laundry room, I feel like I always have to double check just because I feel like something's like standing there. But, I mean, that part could just be me too, just because I'm paranoid. I mean, you know me, I dart into the bedroom after I turn all the lights off.
Takes on a different feeling when you turn all the lights off.
Yeah.
I feel like that sometimes when I'm at my mom's house because she, it's mainly that hallway. It's that hallway. Like when you have to go to the bathroom because, you know, you have to like look down the hallway, make sure nobody's. And she has like this clock above her laundry room door, and it has a light on there, so it just lights up that whole living room.
Yeah.
And I don't know what her living room looks like now, but her chair used to be right there in plain sight, so you get kind of scared thinking somebody's gonna be sitting there. So, but that's how the other house I used to live in with my sister, she had her reclining chair sitting in there, so and my bedroom door was like just a straight shot there, so it was kind of scary.
Even old house growing up, it's just a hallway because like we'd have the couch set up against the wall, but then the hallway's right there, so it's like right beside the couch, and so I always like kept double checking because it always seemed like somebody's walking from the kitchen down the hall like towards my room. So, and that's kind of how it was too, especially during the summer. We'd have the air on, but then there would be times where it felt extra cold. So I'm like, I don't know. It weirds me out. But like I said, sometimes I can't tell if it's just me being paranoid or if there's something actually there. But I'm not going to push it to see if it's really there.
Yeah. That's one thing you gotta do is be extra cautious when you do stuff, especially with paranormal investigating. You know, you have to have a strong sense, a strong faith, and something to go by, because if you don't, you know, you're just basically playing with fire. You know, it's like playing with the Ouija board. I don't recommend it. I wouldn't do it, anything like that. But it's just one of those things where you better be ready to face the consequences if you do something like that. Well, it is, we're about 30 minutes into this, so we are going to go ahead and wrap this up. Dogwoman, is there anything else that you want to tell? Any more stories, or are you good?
Well, I just had some experiences that happened to me when I don't know, sometimes when you hallucinate, they always say that you can see things, but to me, this was real. I had seen 3 little children sitting on the couch, and I was asking them to help me to go get somebody, and they were just sitting there. So when I got on one side the couch and I looked, one of them had moved to the other side of the couch, and I was kind of scared because, like I said, I don't know if I was hallucinating or if this was for real, but to me this was real because when I was sitting in a chair, I was telling this person, there's somebody standing behind that couch. And they said, no, it's not. There's nobody back there. And this person got up and went over there and looked, and there was nothing behind the couch. So later on that night, I told this person, I said, there's a man in my bed. And I was crying, and I seemed like I was hollering as loud as I could, but nobody seemed to hear me. And so I went into the other bedroom and woke this other person up, and I said, there's a man in my bed. And they jumped up and went in there, and they said, no, there's nothing in there. So sometimes, I guess when you are sick and have fever and stuff, I guess maybe sometimes your mind goes in different directions, and they kept telling me, no, there was nothing there, there's nothing there. But to me, it was real.
I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier, if you're at a weak state or whatever, anything could, it's like a door to let something in. So, it's just another thing. You never know what's the considered reality or not. So. All right, well, boss lady, you got some closing comments for us?
Well, by these stories, I'll probably have to
sleep with the light on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap this up for you guys. Remember to like and subscribe to Indian Time. We got some more content coming to you pretty soon. Sorry it's taking us a long time to do some content. Work. That's all we do, guys, and so just bear with us. We'll have more content for you, and if there's anything you want to hear, let us know. All right, peace easy.
Peace easy.